Okay, so I think we're all ready to start now. So first I would like to, well, my name is Elizabeth. I'm the director of the Yorkshire constituency from the SRUK. I want to thank everyone for joining us this morning, and of course to the panelists for having agreed to participate in this. So just briefly, for those of you who don't know what the SRUK is, we are a non-profit organization built by and for researchers. And among different aims and objectives, one is to create a professional and personal network and a space to share scientific outreach. So this is the second event we create under the Alternative to Academia series. This series of events is organized by the Yorkshire constituency, the Cambridge and the Oxford ones. And the idea is to be able to bring scientists with different scientific pathways and have a more personal point of view about the different options that is out there outside the academia. So the event today will be starting by a short presentation from our speakers, all related to translational science in the UK, and specifically about the knowledge transfer partnerships under the Innovate UK scheme. And then will be followed by a roundtable discussion. So we will ask you to pop up your questions in the Q&A section on Zoom. You can also chat if you're not sure how that works, and we'll make sure that they get answered live. And you also can raise your hand if you want to activate your microphone yourself. So feel free to do that once the short presentation is done. And then probably by the end of it, we're also going to ask you to answer some questions as part of the pool, but we'll do that just before or after starting the Q&A. So just before starting, very, very short presentation of our speakers, we'll begin by Jan Stringer. She's a knowledge advisor of Knowledge Transfer Network, if I'm saying that right. Then we have David Caballero. He's the head of R&D at LabSkim. Then we have Lindsay McCurdy and Maria Pin, who are both former KTP associates. So thank you from the name of all the organization. Thanks to all of the four of you. And then, yeah, I think we're good to start. So Jan, if you want to start.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, good morning, everybody. Hopefully you can all see that okay. Great. So I've had the honour of being a knowledge transfer advisor for 15 years, and it's the greatest job I've ever had. So I want to share some of that excitement. I don't know how easy it is for you all to raise your hands, or just a lot of you haven't got your videos on. I know we all have bandwidth things, but if you can, it does really help the interaction between us. But just a wave or a thumbs up in the comments if you've heard of knowledge transfer partnerships before. You're going to learn about them anyway. Okay, there's quite a few things coming up. That's great. So the basics of it is a company such as LabSkim, which you're going to hear about in a little while, needs some academic knowledge and some research to move their product or their service into the next level of success. And either they know an academic team, or I would, or one of my colleagues would help match them with an academic team from around the UK. It can be anywhere in the UK. And then with our help, they apply for a grant from the government. So UKRI, but the main money pot comes from Innovate UK, who I'm I represent today. So once the grant is given, then those two partners, the company and the academic, jointly recruit an associate. So it's an open recruitment. They can come from anywhere in the world. And that person is actually based in the company, guided by the academic team, who obviously haven't got the time to, really translate the knowledge in the company. And they actually deliver a very defined project in the company that gives commercial gain, but also embeds that knowledge for future use in the company. So the real basics of it is that the project and the associate are the company business most of the time. Obviously, with some things like life sciences, you may need access to the laboratories at the university from time to time, but the majority of the time is spent in the business. And there's an academic team that supervise the associate who's based in the business, and they spend on average about half a day a week giving them guidance and solving problems and that sort of thing. Obviously, up till last year, that used to be actually at the business, but we've all become very adept at using Zoom and Teams to do that in the meantime. And a lot of the associates also haven't been able to always stay in the business because of health and safety, have been working remotely. So the associate is actually on the payroll of the university, but it's a joint recruitment with the company helping in that decision. The important thing to get the government funding is that the project has got to have high impact to, you know, commercial impact to the company, societal impact as well, obviously, is very good. It's got to be innovative, not new to the world stuff. So we're not saying, you know, really leading edge research. It's got to be innovative relative to where the company is operating now. So obviously it could be a completely new area for them to be going into, and it helps de-risk that side of things from working with a university. It's got to be challenging, obviously, for the academics. They won't know all the answers, and obviously challenging for the associate. We don't want it to be too easy for the associates, because we want them, you know, their personal development and their growing through the experience of doing a project that they wouldn't normally be allowed to do on their own without the support of the university and the company at their stage in their career. And it's a partnership, so the coherence and the fact that the two partners have sat around a table or a form to actually plan how not only, you know, the high level vision for the project, but actually down to the level of a work plan and how's it going to work in practice. The project can be any length between 12 and 36 months. And also, it isn't just a grant that the government give you and then leave you to get on with it and you succeed or fail. Someone like myself is very hands-on in meeting the teams every 4 months, being coach and mentor to the associates. And Maria was one of my associates, so I really miss her now. She's finished her project. So we help guide the project be successful, and we can also authorise changes of direction and that sort of thing. So why would you want to do it? Well, it's been going 45 years, so lots of people have wanted to do it. And I guess the majority of you will probably be thinking of perhaps applying to be an associate. So the real benefits to you is that you're going to get that step up your career ladder, because I say you're not normally allowed to lead such an important project at your stage in your career. You get £2,000 a year personal development money and some guidance on, you know, where you should be spending that, not just on technical skills, but obviously on managerial and project management skills and some of the softer skills as well, which, you know, helps you translate your research and be successful. Great for your CV, even if you don't stay at the company at the end. You've, you know, got so much more to tell a potential employer about what you've achieved. You're given, you know, formal coaching and mentoring to succeed, and also we give you some management training that you can actually then get a qualification, management qualification through. So I won't go on and talk about the business benefits, because obviously you're going to hear a little bit about that in a minute. And from the academics, you know, those of you that are, even if you decide to go into an academic stream, academics love it because it helps translate their research and get the impact scores that they need, but without taking, you know, all the time of actually having to do consultancy or, you know, those sort of really difficult contract R&D projects. This is much lighter touch from their side of things, because they've actually got the associate delivering the knowledge transfer. And also, you know, it's difficult to get government funding, and majority of our success rate, you know, it's between 60 and 80% normally. So it's really worth putting in the effort to put in an application. So about the associates, there's a bit of perception sometimes that this is a sort of a graduate placement scheme, but majority of our associates are like yourselves, got a master's or a PhD already. Average age is 31. Obviously, we've got associates of all ages, as long as they're adequately qualified. Most of the projects are in STEM, so the gender break isn't where we would like it, but actually it's above where the normal gender breaks are for those sort of subjects. And most projects are over 2 years long, because it isn't just about delivering the research, and it's about commercialising that research and also embedding that knowledge for future use. At the end of the project, majority of associates are offered employment. Obviously, that's dropped down a little bit lately because of some of the challenges of COVID. Unfortunately, companies aren't taking on people as much as they can, as they used to. But the majority of them, a lot of associates that I talk to on day one are very focused on having an academic career. But by the time they get to the end of the KTP, they're really excited about that commercialization of their research, and the majority of them, accept a job in the company at the end of it. So if you're interested, most of the universities in the UK take part. So we've got 108 what we call knowledge base or KB partners. It has to be an open recruitment, so it isn't just people that have studied or a research associate at that university that have to apply. The majority of universities will also get visas and that sort of thing if it's somebody from overseas that needs it. And we've currently got 253 vacancies. So please, I'll send you a link at the end about where to look for them. But it's a great opportunity, and hopefully you'll hear that from people who've actually done it rather than myself. So there's all the information. If you've got a company or you're an academic, there's the information about how to apply. If you're looking for vacancies as an associate, we've got our own website where all the jobs are, but also you'll often see them on jobs.ac.uk, and hopefully when you see KTP Associate up as a job title, you'll actually sort of understand a little bit more about it. So that was a very quick whiz through, but I think it's better to hear it from people who've actually done it rather than myself that's been sitting on the outside a little bit for those years. But also I'd like to share with you, unfortunately he couldn't be here today, one of my other associates, Miguel Martinez, who has completed his KTP, must be about 5 years ago, and his company that he actually ended up being a co-founder when they got external funding, it's now about 200 people, so it's grown in 5 years from 3 people to 200. So I was just going to share a quick video with his experience there.
Yeah, I'm going to share in a second.
So he's from Oviedo, and he did his first degree there, but then went to do a PhD at Queen Mary in London.
Signal enables organisations to essentially monitor, draw insights out of, and ultimately act in real time on the world's media.
My last year of the PhD, when I was writing my thesis, I received a job offer, which was basically the one with the KTP, and they needed a researcher, an expert in text analytics.
So Miguel has brought domain expertise in a very nascent technology field called machine learning. He's brought that expertise into the business.
All the different elements needed, which is a person with the vision and the business relationships, the technologists, and in my case, the researcher. Thanks to the KTP, we cover all the 3 bases. which neither of us could have done by ourselves.
He's helped me through 2 rounds of venture funding. He has helped me grow the business operationally. He even helps me with things like financial management, financial operations. He's essentially become a core and integral co-founder in the business.
Well, I've been involved in 4 KTPs. So this is definitely the one which brought the biggest benefit to all partners and was sort of the most surprising in terms of how far beyond what we had expected it went.
The KTP has been absolutely transformative for the business. When we started the project, we were working 2 of us in a garage, a very small garage. We have come a significant way since then, and the KTP has been a massive part of that.
You need the innovation and the university knowledge in order to be the best in the IT world, but I would even push it a bit more and say in general, if you want to innovate, you need to collaborate with universities.
Right, thank you very much. So I'll take questions at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. So next we can have David, if you're ready.
Well, good morning, everyone. I would like to thank this invitation. It is really nice to talk to all of you and give you an idea of what LabSkin is and how we use KTPs and why we like to partner with universities to do some of our R&D. I am not going to enter how the KTP was because this presentation already saw it, but I think it's a very short presentation on showing you what LabSkin does and a few examples of our KTPs and nothing else. So yeah, very, very quick. So LabSkin is integrated in the mother company, which is called DeepVerge. It used to be called Integument, but it changed name recently. And the core business is skin and skin science. But during the last year, the company has been growing, and now we have a part of the company called Modern Water, which is basically testing water quality. The technology is based in microbiology, in luminescent bacteria, Vibrio mainly. We also have a AI data analysis company, Rhino Cloud, and we work very closely with them on doing AI models to understand microbiomes and the skin response to components. I'm not going to enter there. And then we have LabSkin. And as I say, LabSkin, which is the core business of DeepVerge, is about skin biology, skin science, and microbiology. So we are specialized in the skin microbiology. We are LabSkin, not lambskin, although the word corrector will try to correct me. We don't do lambs, we do LabSkin. And LabSkin is a piece of tissue that we are able to grow on the lab. So it was spin out of Leeds University as EvoQTs, or Leeds Science Fairs and then EvoQTs more than 16 years ago. And it's basically a model that is composed by dermis and epidermis. So it's a full thickness model. It contains fibroblasts, it contains keratinocytes, and it's fully differentiated. And one of the main things of this skin model compared to others is we are able to colonize it with microbes. So due to the barrier function and other features of the skin that other skin model, other competitors doesn't have. So we specialize on doing that. We can colonize with pathogen, we can colonize with commensal consortia, and we can even colonize with whole microbiome that we can isolate from volunteers. So we offer a number, so we might be considered as a small CRO, a contract research organization, or we do a lot of other things. So, and we offer a number of services for cosmetics, skincare, and pharmaceutical companies that are interested in looking at several things on their products, on the skin. In 2017, the European Union banned the research on animals on cosmetics. So you have to test safety and efficacy on skin models. You cannot do that or in clinical trials, but I mean, there's things you cannot do in clinical trials, so that's where we come in. We have a very, very good model very, very similar to human. So it gives you a very good idea of how the product is going to work and if it's safe. So we sit in the middle between, we are not preclinical per se. We try to sell our business as a step further, a preclinical trial, and just one below. So it's a step behind clinical. So we try to reduce clinical trials by being very, very similar to a human being. So one of the things, the fancy thing we do is cloning of the skin microbiome. Basically what we do is we isolate the microbiome from a volunteer for the different parts of the body. We analyze that by sequencing, next generation sequencing, so it gives us an idea of the whole composition of the microbiome, but then we can colonize our skin with the same microbiome that we isolated. The advantage of this is the microbiome is changed, varies between person to person. There are similarities, but even from the same site, each person has a very, very defined microbiome. So to test products on those microbiomes, you take into account the variability of the personal skin microbiome. However, the way we do this, if we isolate a microbiome, we can replicate that microbiome in a number of different pieces of lab skin. So the lab skin is the same, the skin is the same, the microbiome is the same, and you can test your products and your controls in exactly the same microbiome. So we reduce the variability. And we use the standard techniques that is used in the field of microbiome, which is sequencing, like 16S metagenomics. We can analyze alpha.
Sorry, David.
Yeah.
I think we cannot see your screen.
This is now or from the beginning?
Well, in my case, I didn't see it from the beginning. I'm not sure if the rest of them. Maybe you want to try.
We didn't see it from the beginning. I wasn't sure if you were doing it on purpose. I texted.
Sorry, there was one thing went wrong. Okay. Can you now?
Okay, yeah, now we can see
Okay,
it.
so it didn't work. Anyway, I'm not going to tell everything again, but this is Deep Birds, and we have 3 companies, as I say, Modern Water, Rhino Cloud, Labskin. I was trying to make a joke because the spelling of lambskin, we have a lot of problem with this inside and outside the company. So we always make this joke about lambskin. We don't do lambs. And I was showing, this is the interesting part I was trying to show, is what we can do with the skin microbiome. So we isolate the microbiome from volunteers, and we colonize our skin model with those microbiome. And then we can use the normal techniques that in this field are used. Like we can look at the alpha diversity, the internal diversity of each microbiome, but we can see shift on the microbiome depending on certain conditions, certain products. And we can also, you can see here how the initial microbiome would have the 2 bars on the left change depending on the conditions in the other examples. And this is done with exactly the same microbiome as I was saying. So you avoid variability person to person. So well, that's what we do at LabSkin. We have a number of endpoints for the skin. We can do ELISAs, we can do gene expression, mass spectrometry, sequencing. So we are very strong on looking at both sides of the interaction between the microbiome and the host. And we can look at whatever you like of your product, the effect on the skin, the effect on the microbiome, or the interaction of both. How we use KTPs is basically to enhance our R&D capabilities. We have a relatively big laboratory on services. The R&D laboratory is not that big, and we don't have that much capacity to do R&D. So we try to go to the Innovate UK and with partners so that we are able to bring money and expertise in-house to do some of the R&D. So that will bring more revenue, more profit. It allows us to do R&D in a cheapest way. And it will open collaboration with the university and establish long-term relationships. And we have some of the examples, I will give you some. And it brings a lot of expertise that is difficult to bring in-house in different ways. And of course, talented people. And that's where we like to have from the associate. Of course, talented, with a lot of interest and passion on science and research, innovative, but of course has to be business oriented. So they have to have in mind the idea that this is a business, and although it seems sometimes we are doing very basic research, what we want is create something. Sometimes it's a product, some other times it's a service. In our cases, we have both examples that bring money and more revenue to the company. And from the KTP, of course, we want their knowledge. We want to steal their knowledge and bring it to our company. But what we want from them is they understand also the business case we are trying to make. They have to have a little be aware of how the company works and what we want to do and why we want to do it, and also project commitment. In some cases, some academics just want some money to do some research, and they find the KTP another option. And we want this to create new products and new. So the knowledge-based partner needs to understand that, which is obvious. But so I will show you some things that we have been doing. This was a previous KTP we have with Harvard University. Malcolm Clance, Professor Malcolm Clance, really good collaborator of us. This is what he published with this KTP. But we also have a lot of interest of our clients. So the KTP was made to analyze how the skin heals using a very good technique called MALDI-MSI, MALDI imaging. It's a mass spectrometry that allows you to create false color images of different compounds on the skin. And we were very successful on this. So we have a model that can be wounded, can be infected on those wounds, but also we can use MALDI-MSI to look at how the wound progresses. But at the same time, we established this collaboration, we start to look at drug penetration, permeability on the skin, and that is the main thing we offer to our clients now. And it's a lot of interest on this, and we have a lot of very big companies coming to us to do this. So can we test permeability on the skin using MALDI-MSI? Yes, that's the answer. Sometimes, or most of the time, other people use France cells, which is a different way to look at permeability of the skin. In this case, the MALDI-MSI gives you not only quantification and data, you can look at penetration, you can look at metabolization, but it also gives you images of where the compound is. And it's a very expensive technique we weren't able to do before, and that we offer our clients now very successfully. We also have, this is ongoing. We have COVID-19, of course. Our associate Omera has been furloughed for several months, but it's starting to go to run again, and she started to get data. What we want to get here is a new model. Our model doesn't contain melanocytes, so we want to introduce melanocytes on that model for several reasons. For color, but also melanocytes work as immunocells, so they produce certain cytokines that keratinocytes don't. So it will increase the similarity of our model. We can create different ethnicities with the model. We are expanding to Asia. We want and we need to create different ethnicities. It is known that the different ethnicities influence the difference in the microbiome, but also how the skin responds. To do this, we need to create this model. And that's what we're doing. And it's still some time in it's nearly 2 years left. So, but Omera is working very hard. This is with the University of Bradford, as I say, or if I didn't say, with the skin science on Bradford, which is the partnership with Julie Thornton, and also the academic supervisor who is here is Jacobo Elias, and we work very close on this. And then this is the future. So we have been awarded this one a couple of weeks ago. And what we want to do here is, it is known that the skin microbiome, the microbiome in general, influence the skin when exposed to and damaged by UV, but also the UV damages the microbiome. And so we want to, the idea of this partnerships with the University of Newcastle and Professor Mark Birch-Matching is to create a model that can replace the normal standard to look at UV exposure and UV damage, which is SPF, and it's basically done in vitro. You don't even do this in cells. So we want to create this model that in the future might replace the standard and create those standards and have that know-how in-house. Professor Machin, Birch Machin, worked with a very, very specific technique, among others, which is called a seahorse, that is able to measure the activity of mitochondria, and that a technique that we want to bring in-house. And one of the main things that of this KTP is trying to achieve. And as I say, we have been notified a couple of weeks ago. We will get a letter soon to start recruitment. So if anyone is interested, you can contact me with your CV and might get an interview in a few months or a few weeks. So just to finish, we are main headquarters for labs is in York, in the York Biotech campus. We have this upper floor here is all ours. We have 9 laboratories now with a lot of office space. We have services. We offer microbiology. We offer histology, gene expression. We have also production of some of the reagents for the modern water here. So we produce the bacteria and save it. In Ireland is basically Rhino Cloud. So we have all the AI and data analysis based there, and we work very, very closely with them. And there are other sites now in the United States, in Newcastle, in the East Coast, and in Asia, in Shanghai. And I will leave it here. As I say, this is my email, my phone. So if you are a biologist with a skin science background or microbiology background, send me your CV, and you may get a call back to offer an interview for this new KTP. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. So we'll continue with Lindsay.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, so I am Lindsay McCurdy, and I was one of the KTP associate on a project between Agreco and the Electronic and Electrical Engineering Department at the University of Strathclyde that started back in September 2017 and ran to March last year. So just to put into context who Agreco are, they are the world leading provider of mobile modular power and temperature control solutions, and they operate globally. And in a variety of different contexts. So the sort of stuff we can do could be to provide the power to different events that are happening around the world in a pre-COVID world. Recently, we provided our services to the UK government to help set up the temporary hospitals that were located across the UK. And also just to provide power or any of our services to places in the world that don't have that infrastructure in place. And as these assets, for whether that's a generator, a chiller, or an air compressor, whatever it may be, they are situated around the globe, and they have hardware installed in them. And that hardware sends us back data to our data center in Glasgow. And back in about 2016, the company realized that they were collecting and storing all of this data, but they weren't really using it to its full advantage and wanted to know what they could use it for. So a team that already existed within the company did a piece of proof of concept work to see how can we use this data to help the company progress. And they did some predictive machine learning models that were basically predicting if something was going to go wrong in the asset before it happened. And once they did that piece of work and it was successful, they weren't really sure where to go from there. And that's when this project came about. So as I say, back in September 2017, the project kicked off, and the overall aim was to apply advanced machine learning techniques and analytical techniques in general to the vast data sources that they collected and stored. And in turn, it would then help enhance the reliability of our fleet, enhance our customer experience, and also to help inform the next generation of our power platforms. In terms of what I gained from the project, and I think Jan kind of touched on this earlier on, it's at that stage in your career. I was quite early on. I had just finished my master's project, or my master's degree, probably about 2 or 3 months before this kicked off. And at that stage in your career, the level of responsibility that you're given is so great. And I don't really think you would get that in any other job when you've just finished uni. And just the fact that I did all this learning in uni through my undergraduate and also my master's in data science. And just to be able to apply that in a real world situation and see firsthand what you were bringing to that company with the help of your academics was really proving so valuable and helping the company progress and save a large sum of money. And also just being able to, again, as somebody who's relatively fresh out of uni, be able to upskill people in the company that have been there for a long time to say, do you know what, there's so much that you can do here, and that we can help you with. And as a result, now Agreco are now more of a insight-driven organisation that use the data that they collect and store to make a variety of decisions across the company. So yeah, that's just a little bit of a overview of my project, and happy to answer any questions when the time comes.
Thanks, Lindsay. And last one, Maria.
Hi. Can you see me? Oh, yes. Okay. Okay, better. Okay, so yes, I'm Maria, as Beth said, and I was a KTP associate until September. Jan was my advisor in the project. I started similar as Lindsay in September 2017. So I stayed there for 3 full years. My situation, I'm going to explain a little bit more than my project, how I came up with this, or how I found the KTP and were my experiences doing the KTP. So I did a PhD, and before that I was really keen on going into academia. And after finishing my PhD, I realized that maybe it wasn't the career path I really wanted to follow. But I didn't know how industry worked, and I wasn't sure that it was my career path either. So when I started applying, I found this application for a KTP in University of Nottingham and Cornelius Specialties. They were looking for a chemist, organic one, a PhD. So I fulfill all the requirements, which is not that easy sometimes. And for me, what it attracted me the most was that I could continue attached to a university or to academia. So I couldn't lose that, the safety net, let's say, that I knew about. But at the same time, I was getting introduced to a new sector, which I didn't know anything about it. So what they were trying to do was to scale up a synthesis from the university that the university previously developed and commercialize a product. And they were doing in really short words. They were trying to. They're still continuing, trying to synthesize plastics from pine trees, from the molecules of the pine trees. So it was really attractive project, sustainable chemistry. And at the same time, I had the opportunity to keep working in both sectors, and learn new skills, as Jan said, all the opportunities that I had to develop myself. My project was something really new for the company, something that they never tried before, so sustainable chemistry. So I was a little bit a pioneer on that area, and it was for me as well something completely new. So the KTP helped me be a little bit more bold. So I knew that if I wasn't doing that, nobody at the company could do it, and nobody at the university could do it either, because they didn't know how to scale things. So I was kind of the link that helped me, and I was the one with the skills, the proper skills, or learning how to develop the skills to do what the university needed and what the company wanted to do as well. Yes, so I'm really happy to take any questions. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Maria. So now, just before we start the roundtable questions, I'm just going to start a poll. Let me know if you can see it. I think you can. This is just to mainly for the speakers to know the profile of the people that's asking the questions, and to know if they have a background of what the KTP is, and if they have like an intention to apply for one of these partnerships. Just gonna leave that for a minute. And if you want, we can already start with a question that we had. So I think it was during David's presentation, but mainly all of you can ask that. But Elena asked, if the project results in the commercialization of a new product, do the academics also get a proportion of the benefits and their name in a patent?
Do you want me to answer this one?
Go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, probably.
Yeah, I mean, it does. I mean, no, David will be able to comment on his experience, but generally, there's a intellectual property agreement between the university and the company, and they vary because sometimes the university's already got some strong background IP in it that they want royalties and that sort of thing in. But majority of the universities actually let the company use the IP to exploit their new product and their new service, because otherwise the company isn't going to be interested in paying for it. They haven't got that freedom. But when it comes to actually putting names on patents, sometimes the company for commercial reasons doesn't want to patent it, and they might not want publications, or they might want to make the publications more anonymous so all their company secrets aren't in public. But the majority of cases I've come across, actually the academic and the associate get their names on the patent as well as the company. That is, you know, completely different to who owns the IP. And as an advisor, I always say, have a think about it, because actually, if you're a small company, if you've got a university name on the patent, it gives you a little bit more, you know, a good impression, because sometimes people don't worry too much about infringing a patent for a small company because they know the small company can't afford to defend it. But if there's a university name on there, they might very well. So that's my experience. So David, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Yeah, well, LabSkin doesn't have a patent. It was developed in a university, and it was the process of producing LabSkin has been published, so it cannot be patented anymore. But we have a very, very strong and very well kept know-how on how to do it. And also, so what we normally get from this sort of process is a new know-how that is embedded in our quality system. So you need to be inside the company to use that know-how. What academics have got, or at least the experience from the previous one with Malcolm in Harlem Uni, is publication, but also they get business. We work very close with the business development team, and some techniques, for instance, some of the techniques we develop with him, the equipment is so expensive that for the company at this time is not, we cannot make it available in our lab. So basically we go to Malcolm and say, Malcolm, we have this client, can we do this together? And we work with them. So the university get money directly from our clients. And we have been doing that with Harlem for several years. So it's different ways that you can work around this without going into patenting. We are not sure yet what we're going to do with LabSkin M when we have the melanocytes, because as I say, we were expanding to Asia and also into United States. We have some advisors saying that might be a good idea to move to those markets to patent the development of the new model. So we'll see.
Thank you. So just before you continue, I think I've shared live the results from the poll. I'm not sure if you can actually see it, but just a summary, the majority of people are students looking for a career outside academia and postdocs looking for opportunities. So just so you have the information before continuing. So the next question of the Q&A, I think it's from Jacobo. He says, thanks, Lindsay, lovely presentation. In your experience, what would you say you gained, referring to skills and expertise from your experience as a KTP associate?
There was a lot that I gained, I think. One of the limitations that I found in my degree before choosing to go down the KTP associate route is that the data science field is so vast that it's really difficult in, you know, your 6 months of teaching or 9 months of teaching to cover everything that's out there, if that makes sense. So being able to go into the role with the support of your academics there, so that if you don't necessarily understand the field and the level that is required, then you have that support there. That was really good, because then it helped further your knowledge and skills within your actual chosen field, being the first thing. But then I think just for me, the biggest thing that I gained was from the soft skills side of things. So when I started off on this, again, as I said, relatively new out of uni, the idea of standing up in front of a large room of people presenting your results scared me so much, to the point that I was like, I don't know if I can do that. But with the support of your KTP advisor, who helped me a lot in kind of overcoming that fear, as well as your support in the company, it really helped further that along. And just so one, being able to stand up in front of them and present your results, but also being able to tailor your message depending on who it was that you were presenting to. So again, if you're doing it in a uni environment, everybody there has the same level of experience as you, most likely. But then when you get into a company, you could be dealing with people who have never heard of your team before. Therefore, you have to be able to tailor that message quite well. And then also just from the management skill side of stuff, and being able to manage your time, being able to know what was expected of you and what needed to be done by a certain date or whatever, so that then you can foresee how that's going to impact things further down the line. So yeah, I think a lot from the soft skill side of things was what I gained from it.
Yeah.
Maria, yeah, the question was to you as well.
Yeah, so in my case, yes, I totally agree with Lindsay. It for me was the soft skills. So the communication part, which I was really into before starting the KTP. I wanted to start a communication career somehow. So it gave me the opportunity to learn how to communicate differently in writing, by email, which I hated at the beginning, and orally, of course. Also, but I think and management, on my management skills, organization, which I still need to work a little bit on that, but how to organize a meeting, for example, or how to say stop when the meeting occurs, so when people are talking and they're going outside the topic, because I needed to run the meetings myself. But for me, I think the thing that I learned the most, or the skill that I gained the most, was to be completely independent. So during my PhD, because how my PhD was set up, I depended a lot of my supervisor on his ideas on how to and on his research. In this case, because I was the only one doing the research or the scale up, I had a lot of people helping for sure. But because I was the one running the project, I needed to know when to stop, how to tell people no, that's not the moment, and how to be proactive, let's say.
Thank you. So the next question comes from Guillermo. He says, how feasible, complicated would you say it is to change research subjects when entering a KTP? He says he's an ND student. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. But my project area doesn't appeal that much to me, and I would perhaps like to change to a different area of research.
I'm happy to take that one. I mean, I think quite often when you do a project for 3 years or 4 years in an NHD, it's sometimes a lot. Some people really want to see that being brought to commercial life, and some people think they never want to deal with it again. So, as long as you've got the right skills to then go on and do the KTP project, it will be really unusual that the research area of your NGD is exactly the same as the company wants. So if, in some of the experience, I think Maria, you hadn't worked with that particular part of chemistry before, but you had all the knowledge and skills to know how to do that. And actually sometimes it's good to have a fresh pair of eyes coming to it with all those, without the experience of trying it and finding it difficult before. So that's my view, is definitely look at it, but make sure that you meet the skills, majority of the skills requirement on the job advert.
Yeah, I agree. Like in my case, I came from my PhD was completely like fundamental chemistry, and I started with doing the KTP chemistry applied to industry, but especially monomers and polymers, which I've never touched in my life. So I had the skills before, but the main skill that the company and the university were looking for was somebody that would be able to apply the skills from university or from the degree into something completely new. Normally what they're looking for is more other skills, like to be proactive and to be happy to join into anything and these kind of things. It depends a lot on the KTP as well, but I wouldn't worry much about not having especially the research area to the match of a KTP.
Thank you. So there has been a bit of questions that has been answered in the Q&A, but I think it's also interesting to let them to talk a bit about this. So Enrique asked, could the KTP program happen between a British university and a foreign company, or vice versa? So British company and foreign university. Jan, I'm not sure if you want to comment a bit on this.
Yeah, I mean, there are occasionally we do a pilot, like we've just finished one in agri-food and working with African companies and African universities, but normally a KTP has to be between a UK company, but it can be, as I think in, some of the examples we already heard from Lindsay, it can be a multinational company, but as long as it's got, the research is needing to be done in the UK, that's okay. But it has got to have a UK company, and it has to be a UK university at the moment. And I don't know I saw another question, I don't know of Spain having a similar project idea, but I know Canada and I know Sweden has, and I know India's looking at it. So quite often we then go and act as consultants about how to set up their own projects. So I think we'd be very happy to hear from Spain if you haven't done it already.
Yeah, this was actually the next question that Enrique had, that if some of the Spanish people in the panel knew if there was a similar collaboration program in Spain.
To my knowledge, no.
No, the closest one I know is Technio Spring, but they are like scholarships. There's not it doesn't really relate, especially on the way of applicating. So not really. It would be good though.
Okay. I think I saw someone raising their hand, but now it doesn't appear to me. So if someone wants to ask a question in live, you can know that you can ask for it, and we'll open your microphone.
I would like to say something that I missed on the presentation, which is basically we always liked our KTPs to stay in the company if they want, and we try to do that. In the case with Haaland, Emily Lewis was very successful in publishing several papers. She thought for a long time, I will stay in the company. I will know. At the end, she went to the Haaland University, and she is now writing grants for the business development department. So he got a job in Haaland instead of in the company. It was her decision. We were very happy to have it in the company. So keep in mind that if you come with a KTP, at least to asking, we will be interested in keeping you here. So to keep developing your research. Yes, I like to say that.
Thank you. So we've got a question from Lulu. It says, I'm a KTP associate. As a KTP associate, how to deal with the conflicting priorities from company and university?
I mean, that's a really good question. And obviously you've got two very different organizations. One's usually very commercially focused and wants everything done really quickly. And you've got a university that wants to have that research excellence, and everything takes a long time. And the academics haven't got very much time to devote to the project. So there can be conflicts there. But part of the application is to put out expectations. So hopefully that helps to a bit. You've also got, somebody like myself supporting the project. So if that conflict, we can help try and resolve that. But I think, the KTP associates can probably tell us some real live examples of how that's happened with them and how they've managed it. So it can happen, but it wouldn't be left to, just to be completely up to the associate if things couldn't be resolved easily.
Yeah, we definitely had some ups and downs as the project went on, but yeah, they were able to get managed. But in terms of how we tried to deal with it, as Jan said, the company, they want it done yesterday sometimes, and that's not necessarily feasible, especially when you're trying to make sure that you're doing things in the right way and whatnot. But what we tried to do was to make sure that we had a kind of initial working version as early on as possible, to keep on iterating over that with the stakeholders in the business in close communication about any progress that we had made, so that then they were seeing that you were making progress. Therefore that made them happy, because they didn't think you were just sitting there doing nothing, if that makes sense.
It is frustrating sometimes, work with academia, and I come from an academic background. I've done several postdocs, so I know how it works. But from the point of view, the company is, as Lindsay said, we want it yesterday. So, yeah, I think that the best way to solve is having a good plan and making sure that everything moving forward, even the speed is not as expected speed, and keeping very, very close with the academics and having lots of meetings and lots of talk and trying to understand each other as much as we can. But yeah, it's not easy sometimes. Yeah.
Thank you. So there was a question from Irene in the chat that says, can you concatenate several KTPs, or is there a limit? And when you apply for the KTP, do they all get funded, or is there a competition with other applicants?
It is a competition, but unlike a lot of the other sort of research grants, because there's an initial filter, which is people like myself talk with the company and talk with the academics, and we have to be convinced that it's actually likely to get through before we'd even let you put the proposal in. So because of that, you've got between 60 and 80% chance of it being funded. So I don't know, David, you've put in 3 now. Have they all got funded, or do you have to resubmit?
The last one that you have reviewed have been resubmitted 3 times. And our advisors say, normally the 3rd time doesn't work, so more than 2, but well, I think we did well. We changed some things that were asked. Another question we always have is the same person reviewing the application again and again in every round? Because when you get the feedback, say, okay, but that wasn't say in the previous review. So it's a different person, it's the same person doing different. You see what I mean? So should we change the thing that we say that were said before that we should change again? So, but yeah, as Jan said, the KTP advisor work closely with us, saying, "Oh, look, this is not going to work like this way. You should change this. You should ask the question in a different way and answer it in a different way." So yeah, it's relatively easy. No, it's not a word. Relatively easy. It's not easy, but it comes with a lot of help from the Python. Yes.
I think, like, I don't know if I understood Irene completely, but as an associate, you don't compete with another associate. It's the university and the company that do the grant, and you apply like you are applying for a job. So yeah, it's not as applying for scholarships that you are. I think that's what she meant. So yeah, as associate, you wouldn't need to compete with anyone unless you are going for awards, but that's when you are already a KTP, an associate, I mean.
Yeah, sorry, I've misunderstood. Yes, by the time the job gets advertised, the funding's actually there, ready to go. So you don't have to worry about that part. But obviously you're in competition as you are for any job.
Another thing to say from our latest recruitment for the collaboration with Bradford, we did interview to several very good candidates. Only one of them, Omera, got the job in the KTP, but we hired 2 other people. So we had 2 scientists working in the company that were hired on the interviews for the KTP. So it's always a good opportunity to make yourself known by companies.
Thank you. We've got another question that says, would you recommend this program to early career researchers doubting between continuing their research career in academia or in industry? And I guess that's to Maria and Lindsay.
You want to start, Lindsay?
Yeah, no, I can go. I think, yeah, absolutely, I would recommend it, because I think that was one of the questions that I had in my mind when I came across the KTP associate role. Was I wasn't sure whether I wanted to continue in academia or whether or not I wanted to go down the industry route, and being able to do the hybrid between the two for 2.5 years definitely helped me, and for me the decision was to stay in industry. But yeah, no, I would absolutely recommend it.
Yeah, I agree. And because you still have the contact with academia, if you always want to come back, you don't lose that. I mean, you don't lose. I had the feeling that sometimes in academia, once you leave, sometimes you cannot go back. But because you don't, sometimes that's my experience at least. But because you have this, you still have the contact, you still are producing papers and things like this, it's quite easy to come back. That's one thing. And you're coming back with a lot of skills that academia sometimes don't offer or doesn't offer. So yeah, I would say if you're doubting, it's a really good opportunity. But find a KTP that is according to you. I mean, don't do a chemistry one if you studied, I don't know, informatics. Don't do a KTP just for the sake of doing it, do because it means something.
Thank you. Yeah, just Jacobo was commenting on the chat that he knows someone who was a KTP associate that went to industry for a few years, and that they are currently a KTP manager at the University of Leeds. So I think it agrees what David was saying, that you never know the opportunities that you're going to have by entering these schemes.
Yeah, I also know some really high-ranked academics that started off as associates, and it gave their career a boost even in academia because they'd got that industry experience, could speak the right language when they're speaking to industrial partners, because every academic needs those partners.
Now the person was commenting about the current roles. I think we talk about this a bit, but he says, I would like to know if the program is open to researchers attached to the universities outside the UK, but in the EU. So I think Jan already commented a bit on it.
Yeah, so was my answer okay? Because
I think so.
Yeah.
I think we've got no further questions at the moment. Not sure if you want to ask, if you want to comment on anything that you haven't been able to say so far, or no.
I think just to comment on the experience from the academic supervisors on my project, they were like experts in their field, but being able to see how it works in practice and industry really then helped them when it came to the teaching of their classes. So therefore being able to go and say, okay, here's what you're learning in your lectures or whatever, but here's how it's actually used in practice, so the students could see how their skills were transferable into industry, really helped them, and then helped their students as well to see what I'm doing is really worthwhile.
Was it the first time that your supervisor was collaborating with a KTP associate, or?
As far as I'm aware, yeah.
Okay.
As far as I was aware, but they were undergoing, I think 2 at the same time, as far as I can remember. It's a while ago now. A lot's happened in the past year. I can't really remember, but yeah, I'm sure it was the first time that they were doing it. But there was one that started not long after me.
Okay, so I think we've got no further questions. If anyone has a question later, you can always email us and we'll let them know, any of the speakers or all of them, and get back to you. So far, thank you so much, the 4 of you, for attending. This has been really helpful, and thanks everyone for joining us today for this session. And yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
You too.
Thank you. Brilliant questions. Really, really strong questions. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.